Editorial. Is it time for Pasifika Festival to move to South Auckland? This is presented by the New Zealand Herald. No surprise, no surprise. I'll probably just read the opening statements. Anyone who knows Auckland well or grew up in the city in the early 90s and 2000s will know of the Pasifika Festival. If you're of Pasifika descent, it is likely that you have many childhood memory of going to the festival with mum and dad, your siblings, cousins, mates every year, eating colourful snow cones, keke pua'a, and walking around Western Springs Park, checking out the different villages. The much-loved festival celebrates its 32nd birthday this weekend. Oh, it's 32nd, sorry. Polyfest is close to 50. A long time for an event of its kind to be going on still, and strongly at that. The story goes that the former Herald journalist Roy Vaughan, yes, a Bālangi man, dreamed up the idea after being inspired during his time as the newspaper's Pacific Affairs reporter. Shall I go on? You're laughing.
We've heard it all. This story shows up every year.
I'll fast forward. The festival is now a fixed event on Auckland's and Aotearoa's events calendar, and Western Springs is known to be its home. Those who live in and around Western Springs and Greyland also know it as theirs. But is it time for Pasifika? Is it time Pasifika moved to a new home? Its name says it all. What is it about? It's so fucked up. Its name says it all. Okay, South Auckland, fucking hell. Its name says it all. What is it about? Who is it for and why it matters? It is about all things Pasifika, for Pacific people, and to celebrate our culture and showcase our uniqueness to others. Auckland is known to be the Polynesian capital of the world, with just over 300,000 Pacific people calling the city home. Many of those people call South Auckland their home. There have been calls for Pasifika to move to South Side in previous years, particularly in 2015, after the event was forced to move away from the central city because of the Queensland fruit fly scare. Let's talk about it.
What do you guys think?
No, it belongs in Central. I say that as a stubborn Central sider, but only because that's what my memories of Pasifika was always there. We used to go as freaking kids. It was the first time that I watched Pacific Theatre. The Naked Samoans performed there. They used to do little performances there, Oscar and Robbie and their whole crowd. And I just remember seeing the obvious, like, our cultural dances. We used to have Polyfest as well, but you'd see all that stuff and then you'd see Pacific Theatre. It was the first time I saw Hawaiians come through with jewelry, and it was the first time I saw Tahitian dancers. So for me as a Pacific person, it was the first time that I saw a lot of my culture, but in different districts and different places. But I always thought it was home because a lot of our parents migrated to Central Auckland prior to expanding or prior to getting kicked out of Greyland and Ponsonby due to gentrification, because that was the original hub for a lot of our people. But yeah, that's my thought.
No. To be honest, I used to be like, yeah, bring it out south with all the brown people.
Yeah.
But nah, man, the more you look into it, and like you said, like, I don't think many people know, especially the young ones, that Central Auckland was like 60 to 70% Samoan. It was all islanders, Herne Bay, Ponsonby, Greyland, Kingsland, Parnell, Freeman's Bay.
Yeah.
All that prime real estate was all, like, literally all Samoans. And it wasn't just the houses. K Road had heaps of Pacific shops. There were Samoan bakeries, Samoan churches, Samoan radio stations in Samoan language and Tongan. Man, that whole area was Pacific. And then they got terrorized, like you said, gentrification, but like more specifically the Dawn Raids. Dawn Raids wasn't just about deporting people back to Samoa. It was terrorizing the residents in Greyland and Ponsonby and all those places there. They were targeted. They were harassed, not just the houses, the stores, all the shops here. And I feel like after they pushed out all the Samoans, terrorized them, made them move out, they're picking out any little remnant of Pacific-ness in that area, And one of the last remaining Pacifica things is Pacifica, And I feel like, leave it there, Like that there is the memory, is And there's still Pacific people there. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Like, there's a lot of families that
Absolutely.
stayed, especially Niue and the Cook Islands, and it's all run by New Zealand administration, but there's a lot of Pacific families and that's still there. Their voice is important. Their experiences are important. And here's, bro, like, just have a different festival out south.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be like just one festival in the whole year. And you got to move it, you know, follow the brown people.
How would a British festival go down in South Auckland?
Bro, it'll go down. Pacific people are pretty cool about stuff, though. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they don't want to burn stuff down, but nah, I think it should definitely stay. Definitely stay. And we should always bring up the memory of the workers who built Auckland City.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones who, in the factories, working the roads, the infrastructure of Auckland.
Mangere Bridge. My mum used to tell me about a great uncle who was one of the very first people to cross that bridge. It's a Samoan guy who helped put that bridge together with a whole bunch of Maori, Samoans, and Tongans.
Yes.
That were working as labourers on that bridge. So,
And that's the part of Ponsonby and was Samoan and that people don't understand. Yeah, they're living in Ponsonby and Greyland, but these Samoans, Tongans, Pacific people were building Auckland. The whole infrastructure that we enjoy now, that these Palangis and these gentrified parts of Auckland enjoy, was built by brown people.
Yeah.
Right? And don't let them erase us by getting rid of anything that's Pacific.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this is trying to erase again. Like, they terrorize us. That's why we're not in these spots as dawn raids. Okay, the government allowed the police, enacted laws so the police can go into any house they want and just terrorize our people. And so our people not just deported, but they went south. They moved south. So, nah, man, keep it there. Keep the memory of Pacific people there, but the memory of how we were treated as well. You know, the memory that the government can enact law whenever they want to get rid of people, to terrorize. And it wasn't just government and police. A commission of inquiry into housing was done at the time, and landlords at the time were banning brown tenants. Okay, so it was a whole system working together. And the Jewish mayor at the time, you know, the Auckland mayor was a Jewish guy who was supporting all of this stuff, born in England. So there's lots of lessons for us to learn. And if you delete Pasifika from that region, you know, it takes away the history. It takes away the magnifying glass on these areas and the memory of what our people have done to build Auckland City.
I love that. That's my take. It's a great celebration of who we are, but then also what we had to go through to get there.
Yeah, and what we did. Like, you know, all those cafes in Ponsonby and that, all the Palangis enjoying their cafes, that whole infrastructure, everything was built by our people. You know, and so, and the other thing is, not one fucking festival. You know, if we want another one out south, have another one, a different one, right? You know, this is sovereignty over our celebrations and that. You don't have to fucking just fight over one day. You know, it's leave Pacifica where it is because it's tied to history. It's tied to people who sacrificed themselves for us to remain. You know, people who were deported, families who were terrorized. Leave it there. Leave it there. That's for them. That's for our history. And we have another one outside. We have a different one outside. But do it in the summer, you know. Stop doing it close to where rainy months and shit. I have it in January.
What's your take, Tama? Mike's right there, bro. Don't hide.
No, I don't have much to offer when it comes to Pasifika.
In Central or South? And why?
You just want the snow cone, do you?
You got some snow
Of
buddies.
all the things they said, snow cones.
Yeah, no, I'd prefer to have it in Central. Historically, that's where it's always been. I mean, let's just say if they did move it south, fine. But again, like you said, Eli, the removal of, or at least the erasure of the history. Like, why would I need to learn about the history behind Pasifika? You know, that because people are saying this, you know, or people are saying, hey, let's move it out south, or should it move out south? Then begs the question, like, why is it in Central? And then so those that are being raised out south will be prompted to dig in further, which is, again, empowering each other via history, even if that history may be a bit, you know, trauma related, but it is important for us to understand where we stand in the fabric of this.
It isn't just trauma though. Like when you remember these communities had bakeries. I remember going to Greyland Bakery when I was like really young, and man, to get Samoan food. They had Samoan shops, Samoan radio stations. There's so much brilliance in that history. Obviously the trauma of the Dawn Raids, but there was these unbelievable communities of Pacific people who were building Auckland and were running their own shit, and you hear the stories that were going to their neighbors to borrow sugar, like they were so close, they were so tight. So I just think there's a lot of brilliant history there too. But yeah, there's obviously the trauma.
I mean, I always look at the Samoa House on K Road.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, well, that's been there for a long time, but also the history behind that, where our people were. And then, now and again through social media, I get to see the odd photo of of what it was like during that time. You see, basically your uncle, aunties, relatives, all on K Road or in Ponsonby, and I'm like, man, looks like a way different world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a different world.
Completely different.
But to stick it in Central, it has to stay there. Or at least it should stay there. Because it's not only a reminder for us, it's a reminder for the rest of Auckland. It's a reminder for New Zealand.
Yeah.
That, hey, there's a reason why it's here.
Right.
We're part of the fabric of this country, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and if they don't like it, then that's even more reason to keep it there. Just this beacon of middle finger just standing there, booming a fuck you. Just keep it there.
Do you think there's and this might be a conspiracy theory or whatever it is, but do you think there is this eradication that happens from the top down where they go, let's just push everything away from all our pretty buildings? Do you think that's a real thing?
100%. 100%. It's not a conspiracy theory. Because you look at what they've done. You look at the terrorizing. You look at what they did to Māori and how they've erased their culture. Like the name Manurewa comes from the story that is based on two mountains. One of the mountains is completely gone. Like they literally mined it and just got rid of it. Like they erased everything. They ban everything to make sure that we assimilate or whatever, to control. There used to be heaps of kauri tree around Auckland. They cut them all down. They got rid of all of it. It's just absolutely the Dawn Raids. You read into Dawn Raids, like they terrorized. The whole idea of Dawn Raids wasn't just at the port, was to clear that whole area, get rid of the brown folk. It's absolutely deliberate. They don't do anything on accident. Like they plan their societies, they know exactly what they're doing. And this is probably the worst thing about history that we don't learn, is how evil colonizers are.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't. We just think, it was just those guys. Like there's so many lies, there's so many fraudulent, corrupt things they do, and we think that it's gonna be different now. And we don't learn that lesson, that the government can come together, sign a law whenever they want, and enter into your house. No, they won't do that. They've done it in the past.
Yeah.
Shit, they've done it before. No, they would never do that. And now you look at Glen Innes is getting gentrified. You look at South Auckland is getting gentrified, anywhere close to the motorway. So,
$1 million houses in Aotearoa now.
bro, and that's it, man. It's deliberate. They are calculated. They're evil, but they're calculated. So it's the worst thing that we don't learn is how deliberate colonization is, how relentless they are, and how it's still going. We don't ever learn that part of it.
And that's why it's important to have Pasifika stand strong.
Absolutely.
In a place where they probably don't want us.
They probably don't. And I don't like the narrative behind who started it and all that, because there were lots of businesses there. There were lots of markets there going at the time. It wasn't a Balangi concept to have a market. There were heaps here, man. Half of my life was in Grey Lynn, man. Raised with my cousins, and it was awesome. The energy, the vibe was amazing. And
so you represent Central too?
yeah, Grey Lynn, Richmond Rovers.
Did you play?
No, I used to go watch them. Watch them all the
yeah.
time. But my cousin went to Mag, so I was always in Central Auckland with him. No, there's a lot of history that we don't go deep enough into, especially the other side. We always learn about ourselves and
Yeah.
not like what they did and how they are and how everything's still operating the same way. Power structures and shit, pretty much.
But I think it's to me it's like a no-brainer. Central is like if you look at it logistically, like all the motorways lead there. Western Springs, like apart from the parking, is probably trash, but like it's a great venue. You've got water there. There's enough space for kids to play. There's enough space for performers to play. I mean, you can make the argument anywhere, but I just think it's like it's almost whenever I go to Western Springs, I always think Pasifika first. So that's it's almost synonymous now with that
And
area.
if it's important to those Pacific families who are still there, geez,
Yeah.
it's pretty much their call, I reckon. Like, it's for their community. It's been there for what, 30 years now? You said
Yeah,
30?
32.
Yeah, so, man, it's obviously important. It has history there. And South Auckland and our areas, we can always have it. But maybe we don't really look into it in South Auckland because we got the markets every weekend.
Yeah.
And we got, even every Saturday, you go down Melford Park and everyone's selling barbecues and that. It's sort of with the boom sounds going anyway. So maybe that's why we sort of don't push for it, because we sort of get our community anyway.
We have it every day.
Yeah, we got Pacifica every day. And not just brown people, but the entrepreneurs are out on the street selling everything. We see them every day with our vibe. They're playing their music. And you can go play touch on the side with our people. And maybe that's why we haven't pushed too hard to have it or to have one like that, because we see it every day. And so that's fine. But I know if our people want one in South Auckland, we'll do our own. We'll do our own. And we're intelligent enough. We've got enough people in our community to have a market for our own Pacifica Festival. But in terms of Pacifica and Central Auckland, yeah.
All right. We're keeping it there, folks. We're keeping it there. Staying in Central. The home of all the islanders, in my opinion. Nah. I wanted to lead into our TikTok, and it's done massive numbers. Obviously, driven by youths, we've explored a lot of things that a lot of discussion around our culture, what we're doing today, what we're doing in the future, and it's garnered a lot. There's literally thousands of comments and thousands of views, which we're grateful for. But I think that the sole purpose of this was to create conversation, good conversation amongst our people. So we're always going to get the messiness that comes with social media, but there's also a lot of gems. But I thought this would be a cool part of the pod where we can kind of explore a lot of the comments and just dive into what TikTok is saying, specifically around the video, which is about our ancestors who are called monkey. And that's up to it's close to about 800,000 views right now, which is amazing. So thank you for everyone tuning in and engaging. And that was off a conversation about Spitzel New saying that word to Ezra Mam. And it created this massive discussion where Black Twitter came on board and has jumped in, and a lot of them are saying thank you, because it's stuff that they've obviously been dealing with for thousands of years. So I just want to go through some of the comments, and we can probably just react to them. And I'm just going to pick them at random. I don't know if that's all good. Empress of Five Kings says, "This is the podcast I need in my life. I'm Kenyan, and I always said Polynesians, Melanesians are African descendants with the food, music, drinking, and unity. Lots of love hearts and love emojis."
Oh, so
Clarity.
Ooh. Yeah, that's another big discussion. Is African connection. I think some people got angry because I said the word black. Yeah, sorry, I meant dark skin.
Yeah, some people got the idea of colorism from it, or tying black to Black American identity.
Americans, yeah, my bad.
So maybe my takeaway from it as well, whether there's got to be a disclaimer or whatever it is to help give it a bit more context. But it definitely raised like maybe, you know, 3 of those conversations, like
Yeah.
about colorism, about the way, you know, anti-blackness.
Yeah.
But that whole connection with the you know, with our African brothers and sisters, I mean, if you do want to lead into that.
That's a big one. That's a big one because, you know, I asked some Fijians about that because there's that, I don't want to say conspiracy, but there's a piece in Fijian history where they say they're from Tanzania, I think. Yeah, so, and then there's an argument that was brought in by the church, and I don't know, so I've asked some Fijians about that, and a lot of them say, yes, it's true, and a lot of them say, no, it's not. So I think the connection between Pacific and Africa is definitely something that could be looked into in a bit more depth.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of similarities. I always think about the water drumming. Have you seen that? Where the Vanuatu, Solomon Islands women, they go in the beach in the sea and they drum the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got beats and it's awesome, unbelievable drumming by the Melanesian women. And there's one other place in the world that does it. It's in the Congo, in Africa, and it's really interesting. So how do these 2 different cultures who you think are separated, like have this one
Shared thing.
yeah, this one shared
Practice.
cultural practice that they do? You know, is it something that happened in ancient times that we don't know about? But it'd be pretty random that, you know, it just organically sparks up in these 2 areas. So I think there's definitely more to look into.
Have you read into the pyramids in the Pacific?
Yes, I went to Saba'i to try to look for the Star Mound, but it was buried under heaps of weeds and shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's some in Indonesia as well.
Yeah, and it's those stories because I was hear the ones about the Great Flood, and that's something that's existed in a lot of, you know, cultures prior to Westernization, colonization, and obviously in the Bible. And I was just like, man, it's so fascinating that we're tied through so many historical occurrences.
Yeah, and this is what I don't like about colonization is that they also colonized information about the world. So what we know is whatever they told us in the curriculums. That's it. And then when you grow out of it and you hear some other shit, you start opening up your mind into, hold on, what about this shit? You know, and other people doing studies about the ancient trees and shit.
Yeah.
Well, definitely read into all of that. Funagumi as well, in Japan, the underwater pyramid conspiracy podcast started them.
We're gonna do a conspiracy podcast. That's gonna be a fun one. I'm just skimming through the You know, a lot of this is you are absolutely right. Thank you.
Yeah, look for the wrong the angry ones.
I'm looking for I'm trying to find the angry ones. But I'm getting a lot of positivity, which is good. But we love to dig deep into a conversation. I'm half Tongan, half Cook Island, but some American people think I'm Blasian. When I say I'm poly, they get confused.
There's a lot of people saying that we're not black, we're Asian. We're not black, we're Asian because of the studies that were done that were apparently from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, if you look at the indigenous people of Taiwan, they are also dark-skinned,
Very dark.
black. And
Yeah.
Now what? You know, these people are so into their anti-blackness, they want to deny anything that's dark-skinned. So go and have a look at who are the indigenous people of Taiwan, the indigenous black people of Taiwan, or dark-skinned people. And honestly, they are dark-skinned and they look like Maori, they look like Polynesian. But they're dark-skinned. So when you know what's funny is that the dark-skinned Polynesian kids in school, they look more like the original Taiwanese than the Taiwan kids at school.
Yeah.
You know, and imagine telling kids that they look Taiwanese if you go by the indigenous people. But I hate seeing that. Oh, we're Asian. We're not dark-skinned. We're not black. Oh, you obviously haven't done any research. The number one Chinese geneticist came out and did studies because he recognized that the Buddha statues had Bantu knots and elongated earlobes. Bantu knots, you know, and he did a genetic study and realized that the original Chinese people were black, the original. So When people say, no, we're not black, we're Asian. Clearly, you need to do a bit more work. But
I wanted to talk about colorism, and I don't know if this is off topic or not. Dark-skinned people in Samoa, and you've lived there, and I had a good friend, and he talked about how this is controversial, so you can shut me down or not, but he was saying there's a difference between Apia people and people in Kwa. And he always,
dark, man.
yeah, and he was saying that obviously in Apia it's up here, but people in Kwa almost not looked upon in the same way. And I've heard stories from a lot of Chinese people talk about how, if you're out in the rice fields and all of that, you're the dark skinned ones, but the nicer ones dress in suits and got fairer skin.
Oh, it's like in Japan. It's frowned upon if you're dark. So with the older generation, so you see them cycling in like 40-degree heat, and they've got like full face mask, gloves, long sleeve.
This is before COVID.
Oh, bro, this is what they do because dark skin was sort of frowned upon, and the geisha is white, right?
Yes.
So yeah, like dark skin means that you work outside and you work in the farm, so you're a worker.
So it's a class system almost.
Yeah, it's a class system in Japan. You see a lot of the older people, they still do it. They're fully covered, and it's really hot. And
is that a thing in Samoa though? Like, is there like a difference in?
They're definitely, man. Samoans are dark, like black dark, definitely.
Yep.
And I go there and I get darker.
Yeah,
imagine that. But I get really dark, and
nah,
I
me
don't
too.
know. Yeah, but you know Samoans say that word, eh?
Yeah.
Meoni, right?
Yeah. I
Say,
got corrected on this on a podcast by Tene Uli.
yes.
She is a half black, half Samoan that grew up in LA. And I said the word, and she stopped me, and she was like, "Kangaka Uli, that's what you call us.
Yeah.
We're not a black thing, because that's what Mea Uli means. It's black thing."
Yeah.
But yeah, I got corrected.
No, absolutely. And if you look in the Samoan dictionary, I got Samoan dictionary at home, and it says it's a derogatory term.
True.
Yes, it says there, not derogatory. It says
Mea Uli, so actually,
it says it there in brackets.
Oh, okay.
It's a bad word. Okay, and my uncle is an orator, and I asked him about it. He says, "No, you never say it. You say tamo, or you don't even say it because we're all dark skinned."
yeah,
So
true.
He was explaining it. So that's Siloto. Yeah, so if you want to know about the words, man, ask the orators, man.
Yeah.
They'll tell you. And the way it was used to describe me, it was used in a derogatory manner when I was young. It's like, go on, me, so it's definitely a bad term. And then again, you get your someone's just get used to it, and all that stuff. But yeah, you can get used to it and that, and you can also not use it,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's definitely not a word to use today, especially with people being a bit more vocal about it. And yeah, there's.
I want to talk about in that same video, and this is back to the comment section. You talked about the images that you saw, the historical images of Pacific people, Hawaii, Samoans, Maori, dark, super dark. One of the comments was, I have seen those pictures, and he is spot on. I love when people speak knowledge for the purposes of connection. But where did you discover those images? Like, where are those photos from?
Oh, man. We've been looking into history for a long time, for like 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's just out of interest. Because I always feel if you want to know the truth about why we're here and that, go to the past. You go to times before colonizers colonized information of the world. And so we used to always be in the garage researching old shit. And then one thing that definitely stand out, especially is the Hawaiians. Like you look at their old photos and then you look at Hawaiians today and it's so different.
The same could be said for us too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it depends because if you lived in Samoa, you'll see the dark skinned Samoans every day, and they are dark, man. They're full on dark. And there's even some villages where they have Melanesian connection that the Melanesians are still there.
Yeah.
Like after over 100 years, it's still there. So in Samoa, I'm sort of used to seeing really dark skinned people there, but in Hawaii, like when I first saw it, that was when I was like, holy shit. And then with Māori as well, oh shit, But that curiosity just came out of, I think, just doing university, when we were young, being interested in Pacific history. you naturally, just research. And lucky for the internet, man.
Yeah.
Lucky for the internet that we can research these things from home and from our phones and that. And everyone has a chance to really open up their minds, not to what is possible in the future, but what was done in the past and who we are. I always feel like that, let's say the timeline is a straight line, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an origin of man, okay? And at this origin, we know why we're here and our purpose in life. And we're over here right now in 2024. I always think that the closer we can get and we look in our history, we will learn why we're here. So that's why history to me has always been important, because these guys here were closer and maybe they knew our reason for being here.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point? What were we supposed to do here?
What do you think it is? Another conversation?
To win the simulation. So let's say the ultimate game, right, would be like, how would you take over the world right now,
Right.
with a laptop in front of you? How could you stop AI and colonizers right now? Like, literally stop them. Man, that would be a tough game, wouldn't it?
Turn off my computer.
No, but literally get up, and how could you stop them in like a year? How could you change this whole society in a year?
So it's control. Like it's the kind of it's what we are in like biological matter as animals is control.
I don't know, man. I don't
Tough
know.
one.
The Matrix and all that shit. Oh, man. I know, but history is really important because like they were closer to the beginning. They know why we're here, what we're supposed to do, and what this is all is.
I want to just, and this could probably be the finality of this part, but I wanted to explore Melanesians in Polynesia. I know these are terms that a lot of people don't like, but my uncle told me a story about how our family name came to be. And so our family name in our finger is Lavia, hurt, obviously, or to hurt. And he said, and I don't know, like, because all my brothers crack up. This is my uncle Sepiki, he just fresh out of jail and apparently did all these freaking researches while he was in there. Because Samoa jail's got like a library apparently. But he said that in our family history, the name Lavia came from Sava'i, and it came from a poor village boy whose parents, this is when Fijians had taken over Sava'i, and they went into his village and they captured our village, and then they cut off his father's head and they used the scalp as a drinking cup, and then he went around. And then he went around the village sad because he was like, he didn't know who his family was, didn't know where his dad was, and the Fijian warlords or whatever it was, they got him to take the cup and do the kava in there, so he'll be their kava boy. And so he was always hurt. He didn't know, and until then, one of the other villagers told him that, hey, the cup that you use every day, that's the scalp of your father that this Fijian man is drinking from. And then he got hurt. That's where the name Lavia came from. And so he ended up killing that Fijian man, taking that cup, and then he moved to Bolu, and then he moved to Awhenga, our family. That was what he said our history was. And I was like, holy shit. But then I was looking at him, my uncle Sepiki, and he is dark. Like, he is black. Like, he's Taiwanese black. And I was looking, I was like, shit, like, what is, that whole kind of Melanesian presence in Polynesia is such a thing. Yeah. Is it vice versa? Like these are...
Oh, yeah, the injuries.
Many hinges.
Too much the injured history or the injuries. Right, it's all interconnected. That's why a lot of people don't like those terms, and fair enough, like Melanesian and Polynesian and Micronesian, because it's as if we were all separated. But bro, like, nah, it was like that, man. It's just interconnected. Like, there's heaps of that stuff. Yeah. There's Tongan titles in Vavau. Yeah. Which is, connected to Vavau, Yeah. So, I mean, like, no, it's not separated. There's heaps of Melanesian influence. I have a friend who lives in Papua New Guinea, and he talks about the Tongans who went there. He's got stories about that. And so there are... we're all interconnected, and these people are right. Like, you can't really use Melanesian and Polynesian, but we just use it just to simplify things. But we don't mean that we are separated, because our history is so interconnected. All the languages are the same, man. Like, whanua, everything's the same. The stories, I think Wykes went to Fiji. He found Samoan builders building, using Fijian trees to build huge sailboats, one that he said was the biggest in the world for Tongans.
Yeah.
So like, it's all interconnected, and it's fascinating though. Like that's a mean story.
Yeah.
You know? And they have stuff like that. Like they use a name to remember this whole event.
Yeah.
You know, it's really cool the way that we've kept our history. You know, so well, that's awesome. Bro.
It's always a story, yeah. But yeah, he's a hilarious uncle. But no, I think that's a great kind of place to end it. And we could bring up a lot of these stories in the future. But no, thank you guys. Seki.
Yes.
Seki.